So I'm sitting here and contemplating what are the conditions for life on this planet. At least for large multicelled organisms like ourselves that breathe oxygen. Um, Plant life is one of them. Also controlling CO2, but especially pollinators. All life has. If you look at things from a systems effect and like systems management, or gardening, like this, if you look at it in one way, this planet is all kinds of ecosystems that have that are food for something else and that are a home for something else, or that they provide a home for something else, right? We think well, multiple ecosystems overlapping from the insect world to the microbial world to all of these systems overlap flora and fauna, above, below, below, above, within, without, without, within. Consider in your stomach you have flora and fauna. Within, that's your stomach, you have flora. Without, there is flora and fauna. Within your stomach, there is flora and fauna. Without your stomach, there is flora and fauna. Okay? Above, so below on this planet, or like even inside our planet, or on the microbial level, there is flora and fauna. Um, in the water, there is flora and fauna. Um, Above, like on planets, right? There's potentially, if it can happen here, what the whole above, below, below, above, within, without, without, within. It's merely a thought process. It was banned by the church because it was a thought process of, uh, well, basically, it was called a hermetic one, so it was pagan. In a word, it's pagan, right? And the church under Thomas Aquinas said, pulled to George W. Bush. He goes, well, they're either with us or they're against us. He goes Bobby Boucher's mother. Now, Bobby Boucher, I told you about them other religions and other beliefs and practices, especially the Hermetics. They's the devil. And yes, because Thomas Aquinas said they're either the beliefs of the Holy Mother Church, right? Of the Sacra Biblia, like kind of thing, right? In the middle, right? And so that's what he pulls, and especially before this time, when the idea of the church and the consolidation of the power to the bishopry of Rome, and the doctrine, especially to right, and the doctrine, because remember Galileo and remember Copernicus, and the fight between the liberals and the church, and this is where, in actuality, I guess, in some cases, the Freemasons do come in, because they were kind of responsible, I guess, in some cases, in a positive way, uh, or at least historically, it does pop up, right? Um, of tradesmen who were trying to like get ahead. They were a brotherhood to how like think like a guild, right? Um, to try and I guess have buying power and like political power even to counter the entrenched works and the entrenched established guild established you could even say guilds or societies that existed to maintain the conservative framework, right? The whole legal aspect of it, and you need through the church, which provided a whole, legal aspect and a framework for, the legal framework, you could say, right? Because religion and culture, they are tied together. If you study religion and from an anthropological perspective, or the religion of Christianity and Islam, of the main religions, looking at and applying the anthropological part, or just basically who, what, when, where, how, to understand why, and in some cases once you can understand why we are in the situation A plus B equals C. Humans are pattern creatures. Machiavelli recognized this, and by writing that A plus B, simply applying the logic, right? Because in the classical education, you learn logica, retorica, and grammatica. Logic, rhetoric, and grammar, right? And that's your basic education there. And then that's the trivium. With those, you can be a businessman. You can bullshit your way through, or a lawyer, right? That's all you need. is to be able to blah 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 blah, and then everyone's just like, we'll vote to shut it. Like, just shut up and take my money, just to shut up, right? Um, in some cases, that or it's the depends on, I guess, what political game you're running. Politics. But if you apply the knowledge that humans are pattern creatures, and that history repeats itself because humans are pattern creatures, and we fall into this whole pattern of repeat, or we look to history and we say, because, again, what does Machiavelli say? He says, be a great person, or if you are not a great person by yourself, great people are inspired by other great people, or so, looking at history and saying, I want to be this guy, or I want to be like this guy, right? Or you get Salieri, the mediocre people who are like, I want to be as this guy, and so they copy the tactics of these great men, and which is also what Machiavelli says, right? Appropriate shamelessly. And so that's why with just the trivium, you can be either a businessman or a lawyer. Depending, you can either be excellent for society or absolutely fucking terrible. And that's why we need regulation and antitrust and actual government to govern sometimes, and say, like, look, to business, especially for things that affect national security or inadvertently, or the national health, right? Remember Dr. Joseph Goebbels and the power of propaganda. The power of propaganda is insane, especially like with today's technology. And everything's so integrated, which is a good thing. However, at the same time, it can leave you extremely open. And so these are things that nowadays we have to really address, but also we ourselves as a people, all of us individually, must be more conscious and help each other. With the whole energy crisis, we have the science and we have the technology today, now more than ever, especially facing actual extinction as a species, mass extinction, due to corruption and due to corporate greed, and more than to just corporate greed, due to the idea of greed itself and the elevation of the ego, the reification of the ego. This idea of the idea that you must management, to be management, basically, to own people. It's the conservative idea. It's just basically repurposed into this idea of perpetual bondage, perpetual servitude, which is a Catholic idea, which comes from Dum Diversas, issued by Pope Nicholas V in 1452, the papal bull on slavery, actually, right? And remember, this is why there were slaves. And there's even a song in Spanish, if you've ever been in Latin America and you've heard that song, Esclavitud perpetua, pa 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 pa, Esclavitud perpetua, óyeme no me pegue la negra. He's actually singing about our history in Latin America of slavery, as to why they came in Cuba, and it's because of Dum Diversas. And so there's that idea of the conservative idea, which was supported by the church because the church was making a whole lot of money, and people were making a lot of money. It supported that class division. And so nowadays, with the idea of equality and whatnot, which is an excellent one, which has been a very good, it's been a long fight, and we cannot allow ourselves to throw away our liberty, especially against people who would try to use the law and money, because we think that money is power, which it should not be. Money and power should not be correlated. The only ones who can actually, and if it is, there needs to be some very strict. There needs to be a good, solid legal system laid down to support that. Um, and there are ideas of right and honor. Right is, like, as in Eliot, the words, tutis, the words are fortiter et recte, which mean with strength and right. What is right, right? Rightly and correctly, or rightly and strongly, right? Fortiter is. My grandfather always used to say, a job isn't done well, or a job isn't done until it's done right. Or with right, I guess, might be another way, which would be right. I would say, but standards exist for a reason, and if we don't shore up our standards across the globe, we don't look at the impact here because of privilege. This idea that goes back to the aristocracy, that you can buy your way out of anything, or because you're contributing to society, you are above the law. That is where the idea of all men are born equal before the law, or all are born equal before the law. The second part, before the law, has been dropped conveniently by both the left and the right, because it was the left, the liberals, who brought up that idea. The universal Declaration of the Rights, the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Man, la Déclaration universelle des droits de l'homme, if I'm saying it correctly. La Révolution française and England and la Magna Carta sont les raisons que nous avons un parlement, right? The Magna Carta and the French Revolution are the reasons, and the liberal movement are the reasons why we have a left today, why we have the left party, and why we have the right party. And again, the conservative idea is based off of this idea: perpetual servitude, esclavitud perpetua, in perpetua ad perpetua, in nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti benedictis. Amen. And unless the people realize this, and that's why there was Voltaire had to, he started making fun of the church and stuff to break that idea of the absolute power of the monarchy and the church together, because they supported each other. And so it's understanding the history of how things come together, and that's how we understand why we are in this situation today. History is crucial, and we are the product of our environment, and we are the product of our history. And history will show us, by looking at ancient engineering, if we do not master our environment, and master ourselves to our environment, and master ourselves within our environment, then we will perish. Nature's first and cardinal law is adapt or perish. Thank you.